Hello and welcome to our group presentation. We are Terraformer. Let me tell you a little bit about us and why we're doing what we're doing. So, did you know that 70% of all global CO2 emissions are from cities? This is an incredible amount just from humans going about their day-to-day lives. So, in many cities, we have rapid urban growth, and with this comes many issues that is seen globally. And these issues can stem from rising temperatures, air pollution, or loss of biodiversity. But what could we do to fix this issue? How could we turn these concrete structures into living, carbon-absorbing ecosystems? That's why we introduced our product, which is bioactive concrete. So it is a revolutionary material that captures CO2 and supports plant life. Bioactive concrete enhances urban resilience and is inspired by Medellin. Medellin is another city within Colombia, and they have successfully implemented green corridors and many green spaces that have allowed the city to reduce its average temperature globally yearly by 2 degrees, and absorbed over 160,000 kilograms of CO2 per annum. Now, with these effects, we would like to be able to bring our product and amplify it for Colombia's capital. So let me tell you a little bit more about the city we've picked and why we've picked it. We've picked Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. We've picked this as we have already seen Colombia to have green plans in Medellin, such as the Green Corridor program that has worked unbelievably well. So we already know that there is a market and that there is a vision from the government itself for a greener future and a more green implementation. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more about why we picked where we have. We've picked Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. Why we've picked this is specifically because it's the capital. Colombia has already actually had a green strategy implemented in one of their major cities, that being Medellin. Their green corridors have done phenomenal work, and because of this, we know that the government already has many implementations for such things to carry on throughout their country. We know that there's a vision that we can be implemented in. Terraformer is not only just about bioactive concrete, it's about reshaping cities and livelihoods of people. Although there are many different ways we could implement our product, the main one that we have looked at is retrofitting concrete blocks onto buildings. This allows for easy growth and structural integrity of buildings. Bogota struggles quite a lot with many different natural disasters. They struggle with monsoons, earthquakes, and heat pockets within their city. All of these things could be rectified through retrofitting our bioactive concrete blocks. Through these on the outside of their buildings, they would be able to have all of this green growth, which would reduce temperatures, capture carbon, and then also reinforce structural integrity of these buildings. Not only that, but with extra plant growth within monsoon seasons, the actual absorption and the irrigation of water will be amplified. So, more about the actual product itself. The product should be able to capture up to 20% of its own weight in carbon. This is not even talking about the additional carbon that could be absorbed by the plant growth within it. This is just the concrete itself with its porous material. How amazing is that?
So let's demystify how bioactive concrete works. So this is Bogota's next infrastructure and it's revolutionary. So our concrete has primarily, it's been engineered with two groundbreaking features. The first is CO2 mineralization, which it's where it acts like a sponge for the pollution, where it chemically reacts with the carbon dioxide to permanently lock it away. And the second is living surface. This is where the porous design, it's not just functional, it's alive. So from mosses to shrubs, plants, they all thrive on this, which ultimately turns the grey walls into vertical gardens that cool the city. So there's another thing. This is actually a game changer because it self-heals. So the microbes which are embedded in the concrete, they automatically repair the cracks, which cuts maintenance costs by actually 50%. And this is compared to traditional materials. Also, why Bogota? Well, it's because of the unique altitude and the humidity, which accelerates the carbon capture by 30%, which is faster than most sea level cities. So, any questions?
Yeah, how do you think this is better than Medellin's trees?
Oh, well, the Medellin's urban forest, it actually absorbs 100,000 kgs of CO2 yearly, which, when you compare it to our pilot shows, like the report, it shows that it's double the capacity per square kilometre, and that's with no watering or pruning required. So, yeah. So, who benefits? So, let's speak directly to Bogota's key stakeholders. The first is the government. This solves your toughest dilemma, where growing the city while cutting emissions, so that's the key problem here. So, bioactive concrete, it actually meets infrastructure demands and climate goals. So, it retrofits public buildings alone that could offset up to 5% of district level emissions by 2030. The second is for developers. So this is the competitive edge. So green certifications, they become more achievable overnight. And buyers, they pay premium for carbon positive homes. So imagine marketing apartments with built-in air purification. And lastly, but not finally, is NGOs. So this is a social multiplier. Training locals to install and maintain this tech creates green jobs. And it also heals neighborhoods. It's environmentally justified and it's delivered through sidewalks and walls. So, any questions?
So, what's the most critical problem over here?
The government first. So, public projects, they set the standards, so they have to adopt to this.
When looking at competitor analysis, you'll find a market full of sustainable solutions. Ours stands out specifically, seeing as it's a product, but it's tailored specifically for Bogota's unique needs. As we can see here, we have the local adaptation. So it's designed specifically for Bogota. It addresses things like its earthquakes, pollutions, with precision. And if you look down, up actually, there's cost efficiency. The materials are locally sourced, and the cost cut is actually 30% compared to if it was imported. This sustainability creates accessibility, especially for low-income communities. So if we look at community impact as well, we're not just building, but we are collaborating. This project has lasting impact due to this, and we're just working directly with neighbourhoods basically. To conclude as well, innovation does not happen without isolation, so we just need to have a deep understanding, the price and the integration.
So as previously Freddie and Joy has already gone through like how the solution is gonna be, what are gonna be the key features, and now I'm gonna go through what are gonna be the main targeting residents in Bogota itself. So our first, and then the thing we were like most concerned about was low-income families, because their house has already been like poorly constructed, because they have used the old architecture, and then that has more chances during like all this flooding, all this earthquake inside Bogota, and then destroying the buildings. So we're gonna start with our retrofit blocks, and we're gonna implement into their old buildings, and then we're gonna make it that it can withstand all of this like flooding, all of this earthquakes. And then secondly, we are thinking about this flood prone area. So roughly around like 37 school last year was flooded, and we are thinking we can start implementing these blocks, because since they can absorb water, it can go more planetary and then make the climate change go less. But ultimately, we are thinking like the whole city itself. It's not that big of a city, but then again, that's like an ultimate goal, because if you basically take low income families and schools, so you're gonna end up like doing the whole resident. So that's what we are thinking at the moment. And if anyone got any question, they can go ahead and ask.
How do you think the self-healing concrete is gonna take to heal the cracks?
So initially, by the research, it shows on scientific proofs as well, it takes around 24 to 48 hours to self-heal itself. So for example, if there's any cracks or anything, like the water will just absorb, like the concrete block will just absorb the water and then it just heals.
So, we're going to talk about a business model canvas. So, how do we make money while still saving the planet? 3 ways. First, government contracts. Charge per ton of CO2 captured linked to climate plans. Second, developer license tech for luxury towers, example net zero certifications. Third, carbon contracts. Sell to airlines, energy firms for offsetting emissions. Our break even is 12 months after our first city contract. This isn't a charity, it's smart economics. Any questions further?
Yeah, so which revenue stream is most viable in short term?
Government. Bogota's 2024 Climate Action Plan budgets $20 million for urban innovation. We are literally knocking on an open door. Now we are going to talk about funding options for our product. First of all, we're going to talk about the secondary options we are going to go through for an increased revenue, which is Kickstarter, Indiegogo and GoFundMe. But our primary funding options are, we are ready to build, but phase 1, 500k from Colombia's Green Growth Fund grants us a circular economy. Phase 2, $5 million from impact investors like Bancolombia's Green Bonds. Phase 3, public-private splits. Example, city covers materials, we handle tech. We are not asking from charity from anyone, we are offering an ROI on cleaner air. So any questions, guys?
Yeah, so what do you think is going to be the biggest risk about the funding wise?
Speed. If Bogota delays permits or investors pivot, that's why we are targeting shovel-ready projects like Cal 26.
So when we're using examples to learn, I feel like Medellin is such a great example. It's just a good example of how a green corridor can be a good success story. This, for example, cooled the city by 2 degrees and it cleaned the air. So you can only imagine how much better Bogota can do with bioactive concrete, to be honest. Our solution, when you look at it against this, means that buildings can heal themselves and the air. It can have flood protection built into sidewalks and greener neighborhoods for everyone. Is anything like you want to ask?
So how do we avoid Medellin's early mistakes?
I'd say to avoid the early mistakes in our solution, it's always good to start small. It's never good to kind of rush into anything. So if you break it apart, maybe with like a small bus terminal and not the whole city, and then when you know for sure that works and you've repeated it, you can carry on.
So to summarize all of this project, like the whole team has showed you like how the product will work, all the VPC business model, and how we're gonna fund this product. Now we're gonna talk about like the next future plan as well, because as you have already seen, like what we're gonna do, what is the city about, because the climate issue and everything. So we have this foolproof future plan as well. So by year 1, we are potentially looking for this product to like fit inside all of the buildings. So like we are aiming like around 300k people every single day looking and then enjoying this like greenery beauty when they go out and everything. And by year 3, as I've already gone through like all of the flooded areas, you know, especially schools, and it's hard for children to go inside the flooding, and it is really dangerous. So we're gonna retrofit all of these like blocks inside the school building, so it absorbs the water, and then it helps students. And then on top of my head, if I remember, it was around like 50k students that will actually get impacted by this, and they will get a more safer place to learn. And then by year 5, we are thinking like the whole city you are looking at it right now, making a whole green. So like every single thing you see, for example, the railway tracks everywhere, and then we're making the whole place so safe, and then getting it back to life, and then hopefully more than 25% of the population gets less visit to hospitals. Is there any other question, like any question at all you guys want to ask?
So how are you gonna measure the success for year 1?
Okay, so year 1, which is a really good question, because that's gonna determine how the product is happening. Because then we're gonna check like mainly about like the flooded response. Because as I have gone through, and then Joy has gone through as well, like how it's gonna work as a sponge. So we're gonna track like has it actually helped like the flooded area. So we can actually start with like year 3 projects as well. So that's how we're gonna see if this product is working or not, and hopefully that answers. And then yeah, that's our great project.